So it's about the middle of the month now, middle of February, and so it's time for a seedling update. I do like doing these seedling updates. It's probably my favourite video. I love to watch my seedlings grow. Absolutely. You know, just the first thing I do every morning is see what's germinated, and it's just such an exciting time. And I love planting and I love harvesting. Those are my three sort of favourite gardening jobs. I've started a lot of things with lights. I have a lot of seedlings on the go at the moment, and I'll try and give you an idea about when I started them, when I'm going to be planting them, when I'm expecting to harvest them, and I will show you the things that I grew with and without lights. The vast majority have been grown with lights. Certainly possible to grow things without lights at this time of year. The key thing is for them not to be too warm, really. So you want a really bright environment like this polytunnel or a greenhouse or something like that. And you want them nice and cool, so they grow slowly but with lots of light. And that's the key if you don't have grow lights. If you've got grow lights, they can be warm, but if you don't have grow lights, they need to be cold. Not cold, cool. And yeah, so I've got a little guide to growing with lights, and it also covers what to do without grow lights if you want to check that out. So anyway, let's take a look. I'll do the brassicas first. These are going to get planted out in about 2 weeks' time. These are little Brussels sprout plants which will be growing for the leaves for a harvest in May. And those are sown 10th of October without grow lights. And then these are little Calabrese plants, and behind those more little Brussels sprout plants. And those were sown 9th of November, and those were sown with lights. And then all of these little brassica plants, so there's kales here, cauliflowers here, more kales at the back, more little Brussels sprout plants there, some kale there, and some more kale there. All of those were sown in January, early January, with lights. Oh, some little red cabbages there. And so all of these are going to get planted out about the beginning of March. Under plastic. I think they need the extra protection and the extra warmth from plastic, but you could try them with fleece. I've never tried it with fleece. I think with fleece you'd be better off with a February sowing, planted out sort of in April time. And I'll come on to the alliums. My first leeks sown without lights. And then these are all onions of various descriptions. So these are Zebrun onions, these are Leela salad onions, and these were actually sown with lights back in December, and they're a mix of tough ball onions and Leela spring onions. So most of my onions are just germinating back at home. I'll show you those in a minute. So I should say that these salad onions, these are going to be interplanted into my lettuce beds in March, and all of my main crop onions are going to be planted into dedicated beds in the beginning of April. And then these early leeks are going to get planted into little gaps in the polytunnel in between tomatoes. Probably about April time. I've got 5.5 tubs of carrots. Half a tub was eaten by slugs and snails, and these are starting to put on some lovely growth now, so I'll just leave them a few more weeks and then I'll thin them out, but it looks as if they're being sort of thinned out naturally, so they're not too far off. I'm doing loads and loads of new plantings at the moment. Lettuce, green garlic, more lettuce interplanted with radish, and more green garlic, and lots of other beds of lettuce and radish and turnips and things like that are all outside. It's a bit difficult to show you because it's so windy today. And I've just got these floppy beetroot to plant out, but once they're planted out they'll look really lovely. The leggy stems just need to be buried. I always get leggy stems at this time of year. I've got a really nice bed of lettuce that I planted out in December, and it's grown on really well, and they're almost ready for harvest now. I imagine I'll start harvesting those in March, And at the back of that bed I've got my first early peas. I've got some peas in the polytunnel as well. They don't do as well in the polytunnel, I don't think, as under a low tunnel. And I've got some more lettuces and, as I said, lots and lots of radishes and turnips. And I've also started planting out my calabrese, interplanted into the spinach beds, and they're looking lovely as well. The first of my new spinach beds, taking over from the winter beds, which will keep going for a few months yet. But we've taken a lot of harvests off those beds. I've got some beds like this with calabrese interplanted with early beetroot, and cauliflowers interplanted with turnips, some of which are getting eaten by slugs, unfortunately. So we're back home now, just taking a look at their chili peppers, and they're all looking great. They've got loads of flowers on them now, which I'll be pinching off. Lots of people ask me whether I'm going to pinch out the growing tips of these, and I don't normally do that. I just don't. It's just extra effort, and I've never done it, and I've never seen any need to do it, because peppers seem to throw out plenty of side shoots in their own time when they're ready for it. And I'm pretty pleased with the progress of these early ones. I don't need that many early ones because this is a plentiful supply for eating fresh in July, and I've got 2 more successions to follow from these. So I've just moved my ginger roots inside, so hopefully they will be germinating fairly soon. So these are ones that I dug up from the polytunnel last year and just potted them up and stored them outside. They all look okay. I've dug a couple of them up, they look okay. It's my second succession of potatoes, looking really nice. And there's my second succession of chilies, not all of them, there's plenty more to come, I'll show those in a minute. And I don't know, this must be my 4th succession of radishes, probably, something like that. And there's my early potatoes, first succession of potatoes, and they're looking pretty great. They've put on such a lot of growth in the last week. Notice I've got the canes in here, and I just keep on tying them into those canes as they grow, and they will grow all the way up to the top of those canes before they're ready in April. So these are my red onions, and I'm really pleased, really pleased with the germination of these. I think there's 3, maybe 4 seeds per module, and it looks like pretty consistent germination. I'll probably thin them down to 3 seeds because that's generally what I like. And these were not so good, so these were my kind of reserve tray in case I didn't get good germination of these. But actually the reserves, these were old seed from last year, the germination of those is pretty patchy by comparison. So eventually we will have about 1,000 onions, you know, big large bulbing onions, and 2,000 or 3,000 salad onions this year. So onions are a pretty important crop for us, and as you saw there was quite a few at the allotment already. I've got 2 trays of salad onions that have not germinated yet. I only did those, I don't know, about 5 days ago or something, 4 or 5 days ago, so they're not expected to come up yet. And then this is all my pak choy, well, Asian greens, all sorts of different types of Asian greens, and I think just a few calabrese and more Asian greens and some more chilies, sweet peppers those are, and then more salad onions and my second succession of leeks. Again, only a few days old, so they're not up yet. And I've got my potatoes chitting away nicely, and I'm really happy with the way that they're going. I've got 7 trays of those, and then just a few perennial kale cuttings, and that is pretty much everything that I've got going at the moment. So not very much really. Most of my sowing kicks off later on in the month. So I think that's enough. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and if you've got any more questions or follow-up questions, as I said, just ask them in the comments below or send me an email. I'll see you soon.